We're on beautiful Highway 191, south of Blanding, Utah. And we're getting ready to head over to Shonto, Arizona. And there we'll find the Navajo National Monument. We'll be spending 2 nights there at the Sunset View Campground. We're really excited. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. The scenery here on Highway 191 is just so beautiful, from Blanding, Utah, all the way to Shonto, Arizona. Lots to see. Well, while we cruise just a little bit on Highway 191, let me tell you a little bit about the Navajo National Monument. It represents a long cultural history. The monument was first created in 1909 to protect the remains of 3 large pueblos dating to the 13th century CE: Keet Seal, Betatakin, and Inscription House. In addition to the large pueblo villages, archaeological evidence documents human use of the region over the past several thousand years. The earliest people to live in the Tsegi and Nitsin Canyon regions were hunters and gatherers, who relied on hunting wild animals and gathering wild plants for food. These early people were highly mobile and moved around a large region to gather food with the changing seasons. Their archaeological footprint is limited. Around 2,000 years ago, the inhabitants of the region began to grow maize, soon followed by other crops. They also began to live in more settled villages of semi-underground pit houses. The early communities are known as basket makers. The ancestral Pueblo culture emerged as these early farmers began to depend on farming for most of their food. They built above-ground masonry houses, farmed the canyon stream beds, and interacted with far-reaching communities across the Colorado Plateau. Betatakin, Keet Seal, and Inscription House were all built in large, natural alcoves which formed in the towering Navajo sandstone formation due to the local geological conditions. As water moves through the porous Navajo sandstone, it hits the less porous Kayenta formation of shale and limestone and moves horizontally. This movement causes cracking, sheeting, and spalling of the rock, resulting in eroded alcoves as well as seeps and springs inside the canyons. For villagers living here and farming the canyon lands, the alcoves offer shelter from the elements as well as natural spring water. The ancestral Pueblo people farmed the stream beds in the canyon bottoms, enabling them to flourish in this high desert environment. They hunted wild game and grew corn, beans, and squash. Climate at this time was similar to today, and these farmers relied on the canyon streams of water. Although they succeeded here for several hundred years, by 1300 CE, the villagers had all moved on. They may have left after a prolonged drought made farming here extremely difficult. Today, the land surrounding Navajo National Monument is part of the Navajo Nation. The Navajo, or Dine, here lived in this region for several hundred years. Sheep and cattle ranching are an important part of life for the Navajo, which is visible on the landscape today. These are the sweat houses. They're behind the museum. This miniature forked stick hogan without a smoke hole is actually a highly effective bath, an ancient solution to the problem of keeping clean in a land where water is scarce. Here's how it works. Stones are heated in a fire, then rolled in or carried in on a wooden fork. The bathers undress outside and then crawl inside. A blanket is hung over the door opening. Now all it takes is patience while the radiant heat does its work. This is the time for relaxing tired muscles, conversing, and perhaps singing sweat house songs. Afterward, the bathers emerge from the sweat house to rinse off with water, if any is available, or to rub dry with the soft, absorbent sand of Navajo country. The visitor center inside and outside was very interesting. Definitely worth stopping in. We're getting ready to head over to our campground, Sunset View Campground, which is a free campground. They always have plenty of openings. Anyway, we're getting ready to get settled in over there, and tomorrow we will be taking the trail that's behind the visitor center to view the cave dwellings. We're looking forward to that. But meanwhile, hang around and have a look at the Sunset View Campground. Sunset View Campground is surrounded by big name parks like the Grand Canyon, Arches, and Mesa Verde. Navajo National Monument is an often overlooked attraction in the Southwest. Not only is it a worthy side trip on long road trips, but it's also a destination in and of itself. Expect few crowds, rich archaeology, and starry night skies. Sunset View Campground is one of 2 campgrounds in the monument. It is open year-round and has over 30 tent RV sites that are available on first-come, first-served basis. Oh, and by the way, it is free. The nearby Canyon View Campground is a primitive tent campground with an additional 17 sites and is only open in the summer months. Pinyon and juniper trees offer some privacy, and all sites have picnic tables and charcoal grills. There's no hookups. Restrooms have flush toilets, and by the way, the restrooms are really nice and kept so darn clean. Water is available in the campground. There's also no dump station, so it's best to be totally self-contained when you're here at Sunset View Campground at the Navajo National Monument. Also plenty of room between the campsites. All the campsites are paved, and most of them are very level, and there is a reason why they call it Sunset View Campground. The sunsets here are just unbelievable, and the views are spectacular. And again, this is a free campsite, which is just unbelievable. It offers so much, and there are openings available. I think probably about 90% of the time. They say the campgrounds never fill up here, and I don't even know why, because this place has so much to offer with the trails, the visitor center, just the whole package is fantastic. To get to the Navajo National Monument, it's located in the Navajo Reservation between Tuba City, Arizona and Kayenta, Arizona. Once you arrive, follow park signs to Sunset View Campground. Just a reminder, you are here in the Navajo Nation. The Navajo Nation is a dry nation, so if you're wanting a nice cold beer or a nice glass of wine, you're not going to find it here. So be sure to have that in your motorhome if that's something that you want to have during your stay here, because it's not available any place in the Navajo Nation. You won't find any booze. Also illegal to drink in public, so if you're going to have a drink, keep it in your campsite and be discreet about it. So this is some scenery from the Sunset View Campground. Our restroom will be going in the restroom here in a couple of seconds, so you can have a look at it. I'm just walking around the campground so you can have a look at it. The views again are just really incredible. And we were here in mid-May. The weather was perfect for hiking, very few people. The wildflowers were in bloom, which were a real treat. Okay, so here is the women's restroom. Got light inside.
Sinks are really nice. They have soap, hand drying station. Restrooms are fairly clean. Actually, they're very clean for being out here in nowhere. Hey, they're doable. And you can see our campsite from the restrooms, which is really cool for us. Yeah, nice spot. Okay, we like this camping spot. I give it a 5-star, and it's a free campground.
Free. It's got the barbecuers.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Here's some panoramic views from our campsite. You can see a lot of the canyons and mesas in the distance. The Grand Canyon is about 2.5 hours from here, and that will be our next stop. There's just so much canyon land around the Navajo Nation. It's just really unbelievable. It's really beautiful. Well, we're getting ready for our first sunset of the evening. This is our first night here. Again, if you hang around, you'll see us go on the hike for the cliff dwellings. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy our first night of sunset, which is just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm really excited for day 2 up here at Navajo National Monument. We're going to be heading on the self-guided trails, and there's 3 self-guided trails that are located behind the Visitor Center building, and all of them are self-guided trails and are open from sunrise to sunset and are open year-round. And they say, please be advised that during the winter season there may be snow and ice present, meaning that the trails could be inaccessible. The trail we're going on today is the Sandal Trail, and this is a 1-mile round-trip paved trail that leads to an overlook where the Betatakin cliff dwellings can be seen. This is the only point in the park where the cliff dwelling village can be viewed other than on the guided tours. There's also the Aspen Trail. It's a 0.8-mile round-trip trail to a view of a quaking aspen and Douglas fir relic forest. This trail is unpaved and strenuous, with an elevation loss of up to 300 feet. Cliff dwellings cannot be seen from this particular trail. And then last but not least is the Canyon View Trail. And this 0.8-mile round-trip nature trail begins at the Visitor Center and ends at the park's historic ranger station. This trail connects the Visitor Center to the Canyon View Campground. Cliff dwellings cannot be seen from here either.
These are all pygmy pine trees. Cedars and what was the other one, Mark?
Pinion nuts.
Pinion nuts, and all their growth is stunted. There's like a pygmy forest through here. We're on our way to the cave dwellings, and hey, these are just so cool. They look like little bonsai trees.
Yeah,
Oh, look at that scenery behind you, Ron.
I've seen it.
Woohoo.
I'm waiting to go on.
Okay. These are all petrified sand dunes that Ron's walking on. Really cool.
It's hard.
This here's at the Navajo Nation, and it's just unbelievably beautiful. We're taking this hike down to see the cliff dwellings, and my Lord, the scenery is just, every time we take a turn, it just gets better and better. Just really, really amazing.
Scenic views on this trail were just amazing, and the biggest treat for me is seeing all of the wildflowers. There were so many wildflowers on this trail of so many different varieties, just absolutely gorgeous to see a color of a beautiful flower in such a dry terrain. It's just such a contrast and makes everything so beautiful. Here you can see the cliff dwellings coming up. They're a little bit of a distance, but you can see them, and they're just really, really cool. The Navajo National Monument really ranked high on my list of total enjoyment. From the Sunset View Campground that was fantastic, to the visitor center, to the hiking trails, to the view of the cliff dwellings. The whole package was just really, really neat. It was beyond my expectations. This is definitely something that is worth seeing if you happen to be in the area of Shonto, Arizona. The Navajo Nation really delivers. Or I should actually say the Navajo National Monument really delivers. Some general information of the Navajo National Monument. The park is a free park and is open year-round. The visitor center is closed on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Day. Visitor services and park activities are limited at this time. The park offers a visitor center, self-guided trails, seasonal ranger-led hikes, camping, and many other visitor experiences that are free of charge. Please check with park staff for updates about available services, as the information is subject to change. Things that you can find at the visitor center include a front desk where park staff can offer more information about the park, a park store that offers books, jewelry, and souvenirs, and a museum that features cliff dwelling artifacts and dioramas. An auditorium where park films are played on a loop or upon request. And of course, you've got the 3 self-guided trails that are generally available to use from sunrise to sunset, even when the park is closed. Trails can be accessed from the parking lot and begin behind the visitor center. You can also get involved in ranger-led hikes into the canyon that are generally offered from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Really a neat place. We stayed here for 2 nights and 3 days, and that gave us plenty of time to see what we wanted to see. We could have probably stayed another night and done a little bit more. So 2 or 3 nights is pretty sufficient for the Navajo National Monument to get around and see everything. You've been road trekking with Ro and Lo. I hope you enjoyed my video on the Navajo National Monument as much as we enjoyed being there. If you enjoyed the video, please do subscribe. Otherwise, happy RVing and have a fantastic day. Thank you for watching.